This is Common Filth Radio, episode 83. Thank you very much for listening. Common Filth Extra, episode 16, available now on Bandcamp at commonfilthradio.bandcamp.com. On this episode, I talk about a book that I got recently. It came in the mail just yesterday, and I recorded a little bit. I read a little bit from this book, found out some very interesting information about government commissions on pornography in the 1980s. And I read through it. I read from this book a little bit. I look at the report that was done in 1986 during the Ronald Reagan administration. And I read some dumb, horrible essay against this commission written by a bisexual trans man. Yeah, I'm not making that up. And this was all information I discovered throughout the recording process. So it's a good episode, and it is only $1. But you can pay more if you want to. I have the other episodes of Common Filth Extra and all of the volumes of Tumblristas Raw and Common Filth Radio, the best of 2015 on there. If you haven't checked that out yet, please do so. But yeah, Libido Dominandi, Sexual Liberation and Political Control by E. Michael Jones. It's a very big book, 600 pages, and I intend to read this in the coming weeks when I have the free time to do so. And I just had some lunch, and I got 2 fortune cookies, so I opened them both. And it says, "Your mind is creative, original, and alert." Well, thank you for the compliment, fortune cookie. Fortune in the fortune cookie. And the second one said, "Take a trip with a friend." So I'll take you on a trip. I take you on a trip every week. So this comes from the "What the hell are you doing here?" files. And this is on the r/cuckold community video. And this person, I'm quoting from them now. "Actually, this is making some people's relationships stronger. I know that most of you can't understand cuckolding. Just let those people be. It's their life." You want to stop people from engaging in self-destructive, treacherous behaviors, and you say let them be. You have a very negative view of humanity. You do not want to help your fellow man, and that is very, very dangerous. And then there's another one that says, "A relationship is what you make it to be. There's no such thing as a normal relationship because a relationship is a mutual agreement between 2 adults. Please don't start with the murderer comparison. Just because you don't understand cuckolding doesn't mean it's something bad. Murderers doesn't look for consent of their victims, so that's a completely different thing." Armin Mivas, a homosexual who found a guy on the Cannibal Cafe internet forum, and he's like, "Oh, I want to eat somebody." And this guy's like, "Oh, I want to be eaten. That makes me horny." And so they got together, and consensual homicide was committed. Now, obviously, we all know that is that's an abomination. That's all we need to say about it. We don't need to put it into words any further than that. But wait, there's more. "I also don't understand cuckolding culture, but I'm the last person to judge what adult people are doing with their sex life. Those men aren't hurting anybody, and yes, if that's what makes them happy, they are free to do it. You judging them doesn't make you something better." You know, Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. Does that make it any less of a betrayal? And you see with this comment thread I just read for you, you see just how civilization is regressing. The foundation of civilization is the family. That is the bedrock upon which everything is built. One man, one woman, having babies, and bringing those babies into a world where they will find a support system, where they will find a family, grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles on both sides. Polyamory, cuckolding, compromises the bedrock upon which civilization is built. Infidelity, an incredibly common reason for the end of relationships, for the end of marriages. It's an unfortunate reality. Infidelity is infidelity regardless of consent. Consent. As long as everyone consents. Let me tell you something. Again, I brought this up, and this is proof that nobody really listens. I brought this up. You know, when you're bored, you're in your cul-de-sac as a kid, you're playing with a neighbor kid, you're riding bikes, and you get bored riding bikes. And you're like, hey, let's build a ramp and jump over each other's heads. You first. And so it's like, okay, you could jump over my head. Okay, the ramp's set up, and your ramp is there, your head's next to it, and your friend's gonna jump his bike over it, and your friend fails. Tire lands on your face. You run off crying, and the friend trails behind you yelling, "You said it was okay. You said it was okay." We are dealing with children. Those who adhere to the consent morality, those who adhere to the harm-based morality, they are children. Developmentally stunted dipshits. I got sent something on Twitter here. Who was it from? Flubby Pony. Look, I appreciate you sending this to me, but please drop the pony stuff. I'm just gonna admonish you nicely for it. Just stop. All right. So with that out of the way, thank you. Regardless, this says this is from r/polyamory. It says, let me give you a little background. I'm 45 male, a little overweight, but in good shape, diabetic, but it's well controlled. I'm fairly good looking. My wife is 44, thin, generally healthy, but has some chronic health issues. She looks much younger than her age. We are wealthy, but not fabulously so. We live an upper middle class lifestyle. We know where this is going. There are no yachts or anything. No, it's the upper middle, it's the opulent fetish. It's the opulent fetish, as well as the intellectual fetish. You want to be opulent and intellectual, don't you? Okay, there are no yachts or anything, but we could continue this lifestyle for the rest of our lives without ever working another day. Well, that might explain your pathology. That might explain a few things. You have nothing to do, and so now you're turning against yourselves. You are mutilating your spirits. The idle mind is a devil's plaything. And here's more proof of that. About 9 months ago, wait, am I recording? Yeah, I'm recording. About 9 months ago, wife changed jobs by moving to a different company. About 2 years ago, I left a highly paid executive position to become a university professor. Strike two. Both of us love our new jobs. About 6 months ago, my wife suggested opening our marriage and embracing polyamory. My wife and I were both virgins when we met, and were monogamous. She said she wanted to sow some of the wild oats she never sowed in her youth. You don't have any oats to sow, you fucking retard! And this is more proof. I bet you these, look, and let me read this first. How about this one part that made me laugh so hard when I first saw it. I am philosophically aligned with polyamory, so I was not overly reluctant. Now, I know white people are the best, we're the greatest. I love all my white brothers and sisters, especially my LGBT white brothers and sisters, but you don't hear Chinese people saying, "Oh, I'm philosophically aligned with polyamory." I don't hear Mexicans saying, "I'm philosophically aligned with polyamory." I don't hear blacks saying, "I'm philosophically aligned with polyamory." You have a few IQ points above average. And this is how you use them. You use it to justify your horrible civilization ruining decisions. I mean, look, great, you have IQ, but what are you doing with it? I'm so smart. Yeah, you're a university professor. You steal from the taxpayers to turn their children against them. The first weekend of openness, my wife contacted a recently divorced colleague from her former job. They went out to dinner. She called me after dinner and said she was going to his house and wouldn't be back that night. She ended up not coming home for 2 full days. A few weeks later, she went on a date with a much younger former colleague. Ever since, she calls the younger colleague friends with benefits and the divorced colleague her lover. She sleeps with one or the other of them at least once a week. In contrast, I have not had a single date with the exception of one glass of tea at Panera with a woman from OkCupid. We don't know any other polyamorous couples and my searches in forums have not received any replies. We live in a city with 1 million people. There's another problem. The urbanite mind is a terrifying thing. We live in a city with 1 million people, so they must be out there, but I can't find them. I am naturally introverted, but not shy. I meet people in non-romantic situations easily. Neither my wife nor I has ever spent time in bars. Good one there, Professor. And neither of use, he spelled it use, but it's us, neither of us has ever picked up a stranger. I am not a loser or douche. I don't think, oh, you are a loser. You are a big, fat fucking loser. You would be more dignified as some shut-in who never leaves his house and never got married. You'd be better off as a 45-year-old virgin. I slightly feared abandonment. I think everyone must. I feared being replaced. Every fear came true. No shit. You have all these IQ points. You're the smartest race, right? You belong to the smartest people, and you can't think like, oh, if this happens, this is how I'm going to feel about it. If this happens, this is more likely to happen, and here's how I'm likely to feel about it. It's like last week when we dealt with that porn star. You couldn't think your actions 2 steps ahead, 3 steps ahead, a step and a half ahead, because. Oh, but that's a fallacy, because that's a slippery slope, am I right? I'm sure you learned that in college, Professor. I'm sure you learned that in your college days. I'm sure you teach it to your students, your witless retard students. Where did I leave off now? Every fear came true. I developed erectile dysfunction a few weeks after the relationship opened. It might have been the very first night because my wife declined sex from me for at least 6 weeks after opening. No medicine has helped. Both my urologist and psychologist think I have repressed anger and feel emasculated. No shit. If I have anger, it must be very repressed because I don't consciously feel it. You are defeated. That's what you feel. You are defeated. You have failed as a man. It is your duty as a man to lead. Lead your wife. Lead your flock. This is another reason why polyamory and cuckolding is pathetic. It is an emblem of your failure as a man. Your duty as a man. Go to Genesis, the first book of the Bible. There's a story about this, about what happens when you let your wife lead you around by her tits. Come on, Adam, let's eat the fruit. It'll improve our relationship. We'll be so much stronger after we eat the fruit. It'll improve our relationship. It'll bring us closer. It's a story as old as time itself. But you're too smart for that, Professor. You're far too smart for that. After all, they didn't have classrooms back then. They didn't have iPads. They didn't have voice recognition technology. They didn't have drones. They were so stupid. We're so smart. And this tale we're reading here, this tragedy we're reading right now, this is just the apogee of his weakness. I guarantee you there were previous instances of succumbing to his wife's whims, her retarded whims, because this guy has no spine. You have failed to make yourself master of your own domain. And if you are not master of your domain, no one is. No one is. Because, the wife, I can do anything. No. Women cannot lead other women. As evidenced by that one video I posted on my Twitter, for those of you that post on Twitter, 2 lesbians, a beautiful married lesbian couple, so beautiful. Brings a tear to your eye. Both of them in diapers. And they're, we're pooping and peeing in diapers, and they make a video of this. Now ask yourself, would they have done this if they had a man in their life? A strong hand? Guiding them? Keeping them on track? We need more men, not professors. And no, not the men who are the rise of the alpha homo, the European new rights, new heroes. No, not those kind of men. We do not need men who view their fellow man as a cum dump. I left off here. My wife is still friendly with me. We talk a lot, but she's tired of hearing me complain. She hasn't exactly said it, but intimates that her new sex life is much more satisfying than her old. She sleeps in our bed most nights. She allows me to massage, caress, and masturbate her. She occasionally condescends to give my limp penis a few pats. Oh God, this is upsetting. This is what a man looks like at his lowest. How could you go lower than this? I have not had an orgasm in her presence for at least 4 months, and the erectile dysfunction makes masturbation almost impossible for me. I am extremely sexually frustrated. That may contribute to my lack of dating success. I've been told women can sense it. What, that you are a loser who is incapable of leading them? Yeah, you are. You are. As I said, we talk a lot. I mentioned that I feel like her friend without benefits. She said my complaining is unattractive and not helping the situation. I went from confidently straddling the world of corporate power to feeling like a wimpy nerd. Okay, I have always been a nerd. Yes, you have, Professor. I see no other path other than divorce, and I doubt I will be happy after divorce. We have 3 teenage children. Dividing assets will be a mess. I feel like I will never be loved again. I feel like I have no value to women and am a terrible lover. Yeah, you feel correct. I even asked if I was a terrible lover, and she wouldn't say no. There was an occasion when we took a bath together. I massaged her for an hour after. She said she was horny. She got dressed and drove to her friends with benefits, leaving me naked, on the bed with my jaw hanging open. We don't fight, we don't yell. I do have some jealousy, but it is not the primary emotion. The jealousy I have is not even about the sex exactly. It's about affection and time allocation. In other words, it's about the sex. When my wife is at home, we're always busy with kids, chores, de-stressing from the day, etc. Her entire sexual appetite is fulfilled by her lover and friends with benefits. I am jealous, but much more importantly, I am abandoned. She says all my feelings of inadequacy are my own, that I can only work on them, and they are unattractive. Moral of the story, if you are a man who does not routinely turn down sexual advances from women, you are making a huge mistake to attempt polyamory. Even a 20-plus year loving and affectionate marriage cannot survive when both partners are theoretically poly, but only one actually is. It can't survive either way, you fucking retard. Even if you're getting it. Your house is broken. I feel like she threw away our marriage. And you helped with that. You allowed your wife to stray. And you are a failure. You are a failure in every respect. I feel like she threw away our marriage. I can't believe my experience is all that uncommon. Well, look, there have been studies about this that say, look, if a woman has, with each sexual partner a woman has, with each new sexual partner a woman has, her likelihood of divorce increases. Her likelihood of having a divorce in her lifetime increases. You get the divorce, you go through the courts, you go through custody hearings. The woman usually gets the children in the custody hearings. I mean, it's pretty overwhelming how often the woman is rewarded custody of children. So the kids get to grow up the rest of the way with a single mom. Kids who grow up with single mothers are more likely to experience sexual abuse, more likely to do poorly in school, poor academic performance, more likely to experience depression, more likely to end up in jail. But no, cuckolding, polyamory, no. It's intellectual, it is scholarly, it's a great thing that you can do. It'll strengthen your relationship, and who are you to judge? Who are you to judge? Hey, science doesn't say it's bad, therefore, hey, I fucking love science. I fucking love science. Science doesn't say anything about that. Science is my god. It doesn't say anything wrong with polyamory. What does it say about our culture that the opinions of those who believe in God, who follow God's rules, who do all the right things for the right reasons, their opinions are discarded immediately for the fact that they believe in God. Yet, if you suck and fuck indiscriminately, if you are a hedonist, you are a wanton, pleasure-seeking cum dump, No, you're valid. We can't judge you. Who are we to judge you? You know, all of these negative outcomes that are a result of your behavior. No. We can't judge that. This is what the collective believes. This is not what we as individuals believe, those that have made their way onto this channel. Even some people that have found their way to this part of YouTube still believe that polyamory, cuckolding, it doesn't hurt anybody. You as an individual matter. All right, so don't group yourself in with anybody, because you can't control what that collective does. And what that collective is doing right now, and it's mostly white people, this is what they believe. Do you want to be grouped in with that? Do you want to group yourself in with that? I don't. And I want to elaborate further on this, because some people think that's defeatist. Why do you want to be on a losing team when you can be a winner on your own? So I found this. It says, Common Filth, I'm torn on this guy. I listen to nearly every podcast, but I hate his miserable defeatist approach. I know he hates being called a defeatist, but that's what he is. Makes it really hard to sit through a whole hour of him finding the worst people and saying, see, we're fucked, repent before hell. Look, I'm telling you that the collective is fucked. All right, now if you want to belong to that collective, if you want to be on a losing team, that's your fault. Have fun losing. Being a loser. Have fun being a loser. If that's what you want for yourself, have fun being a loser. On the other hand, he's insightful, entertaining, and his lesbian impersonation of a liberal homosexual, liberal/homosexual, makes me laugh every time I hear it, so try it out. Well, thank you for the recommendation, but you're wrong. You are wrong when it comes to me being a defeatist or whatever it is. Every week I show you what society in its present state values above all else. And I'm warning you against the dangers of grouping yourself in with that. I warn you every week of the consequences of certain behaviors. I warn you about the dangers of sexual promiscuity. I warn you about the dangers of materialism. I warn you about the dangers of placing your faith in anything that is not God. Consider what mainstream society values above all else. Deviant sexualities, the imaginary gender spectrum, men who impersonate women, women who impersonate men. Consider what the fringe of society values above all else. How about this one? 6% of Americans have accepted payment for sex. This is from Reason.com. In the new nationwide poll from YouGov, 6% of respondents said they have been paid for sex in the past, and 7% have paid someone else for sex. Men and women were equally likely to have accepted payment for sex, but just 1% of the women said they had paid for it themselves, while 12% of the men said as much. But hey, it doesn't affect anybody, don't worry about it. And in more it doesn't affect you news from the Daily Mail, the more cannabis you smoke, the more likely you are to be a loser, finds international study. From the Daily Mail by Alexander Robertson. International research has revealed that the more cannabis you smoke, the more likely you are to be lower paid and have relationship difficulties. But science said it shrinks my tumors and cures my glaucoma. The study followed children from birth up to the age of 38 and found people who smoked cannabis 4 or more days a week over many years ended up in a lower social class than their parents. Again, this is not surprising. It also found that regular and persistent users ended up with lower paying, less skilled, and less prestigious jobs than those who were not regular cannabis smokers. Financial, work-related, and relationship difficulties were further experienced by those taking the drug, which worsened as the number of years of regular cannabis use progressed. I want to know how many people have sucked cock for weed. I bet you it's a few. The study, conducted by a team of researchers led by Magdalena Serta at the University of California and Avshalom Caspi and Terry Motif at Moffitt Motif. Am I dyslexic? It's Moffitt at Duke University. Appeared in the journal Clinical Psychological Science. Our research does not support arguments for or against cannabis legalization, said Serta. but it does show that cannabis was not safe for the long-term users tracked in our study. Our study found that regular cannabis users experienced downward social mobility and more financial problems such as troubles with debt and cash flow than those who did not report such persistent use. Regular long-term users also had more antisocial behaviors at work, such as stealing money or lying to get a job, and experienced more relationship problems, such as intimate partner violence and controlling abuse. Wait, I thought that weed makes you peaceful. Researchers claimed the study was important as it addresses an array of potentially confounding factors not included in past studies assessing cannabis long-term effects on users. Economic and social problems persisted in long-term regular users of pot, even after the authors accounted for other potential differences between regular cannabis users and other participants. These factors included socio-economic problems in childhood, lower IQ, antisocial behavior, and depression in adolescence, higher levels of impulsivity, lower motivation to achieve, criminal conviction of cannabis users, and abuse of alcohol and hard drugs. These findings did not arise because cannabis users were prosecuted and had a criminal record, said Casby, a psychologist at Duke University and King's College London. Even among cannabis users who were never convicted for a cannabis offense, we found that persistent and regular cannabis use was linked to economic and social problems. While both heavy alcohol and cannabis use were similarly associated with declines, the authors found that those dependent on cannabis experienced more financial difficulties. Cannabis may be safer than alcohol for your health, but not for your finances, said Moffat. For the study, 947 participants who had completed at least 3 of the 5 adult cannabis assessments from ages 18 through 38. Again, if you had any exposure to these people, you know all of this on an intuitive level. But no, we can't judge because that's stereotyping. And stereotyping's always wrong. It's a stereotype. It's a stereotype. Stereotype. I would like to know at what point stereotypical became synonymous with false, lie, not true. And this just came in on Drudge Report. No arrests. Hundreds inhale at surreal White House pot protest. And they have the stars and stripes made up with leaves. Pot leaves. Great. No arrests. Nothing. Pot protest. This is your Alamo. President Obama was urged to take immediate action on marijuana reform as protesters lit up. All avoided arrest. Well, we don't arrest illegals, so hey, why would we arrest weed? Dude, weed, dude, weed cures cancer, glaucoma. I'm not going to read this yet, but there's a tweet linked to here that's it's a bunch of these retards carrying a giant inflated joint. This is the altar at which they worship. This is their god. It is a human impulse to have faith in something. And look at what they have faith in. Weed. It lowers my IQ. It puts me in abusive relationships, but it's great. Reschedule it, dude. It's just like beer, dude. It's just like beer, dude. They're carrying around a giant inflated joint. And this isn't religious. This isn't a religion. Alright, you want to do Reddit comments? Of course you do. And I didn't load up the comment thread, which you can participate in every week. Yeah, I didn't load it up beforehand. I've seen the threads that people have posted. How to be obnoxious at social events. A guide for trannies. And it is a YouTube link. How to call people out. My suggested videos are going to be tough to explain. Yeah, I watched those Whitney, Wisconsin videos, and now YouTube's recommending me dog humps girl videos. And here we go. This is a how to call people out for being transphobic video. And this is a lady to male transsexual. And you could tell right off the bat. Yeah, okay, you have testosterone. What is it giving you? It's giving you a shitty beard. That's what it's giving you. And you have, oh look, I have blue hair and nose and a mouth piercing. That's very masculine. And you can tell this person is probably like 5'3". And she has this tiny head, or rather, this kind of big head, but her shoulders are so narrow. That's the dead giveaway. You are very petite. And now, maybe this is like the new man or something, but men, if they are allowed to properly develop, they don't have these tiny baby shoulders like women have. Oh look, I cut my hair short. Oh look at me, I sawed off my tits. What other videos does this person have? Obsession with birth names. Yeah, that's another one I came across. I think I made a Tumblrista's episode about that. All of these kids who were like, I'm not cis, I'm trans, and don't dead name me. Don't call me by my birth name. You know, your name is given to you by your family. And usually that name you're given has some precedent. Somewhere in your family history, somebody else had that name. Your mother or father was very fond of this person, so they gave you this name. And what these people want to do is say, no, that doesn't matter. They're essentially rejecting that which ties them, the emblem of their familial ties. They wish to sever. They want to be rootless and atomized, because that's the cool thing to do. And the cool thing to do, get rid of your name, get rid of all ties to your family. Fuck that, no, I'm not, you gave me a wrong name. You gave me a wrong name, Mom and Dad, fuck you. It's a psychosis. What else? Angry Foreigner just went full degenerate. Okay. I found this on Poll. He basically expresses the usual bullshit. It doesn't hurt anyone. False. There is no rational argument against working in the porn industry. False. Morality is a buzzword. False. Jesus talked to prostitutes, so he would have endorsed it. Oh, I've answered emails from trannies and homosexuals, therefore I endorse transsexualism and homosexuality. You talk to somebody, therefore. Some people they need to have their tongues removed, and I'm convinced of this. You can't degrade yourself as live according to your own will. Oh, that's also wrong. It's a wonderful thing to do because it spreads pleasure. You know, sharing a nice meal with your family, that's pleasurable. Strengthens bonds. You know, stuff like that. It's a healthy shared experience. Do you watch porn together? Do y'all sit there jerking off? You know, like 5 of you in the same living room watching a porno DVD, and then when one of you dies, you place that porno DVD on their grave. Your lives are dearly beloved. He watched a lot of porn. Your lives are dearly beloved. His favorite porn was we lay it on his grave. We're honoring our dearly beloved by putting I think that people avoid thinking about, you know, what are people going to think of you when you die? People avoid thinking of that because they have to deal with their own mortality, and they have to confront how they spent their life. You spend your whole life jerking off. You know, people aren't going to remember you that fondly. Western military decadence. Okay, yeah, sure. There have been many cases about the French military in Central Africa Republic on the Operation Sangaris, supposed to calm down the conflict in a newly quote-unquote elected Muslim government between the North, Muslim, and the South, Christians, fearing that the South would genocide the North. Report on the situation and why they sent the peacekeepers. Okay, it's a UN report. Last year, cases of rapes on children were reported, and it's still being reported today. Fresh rape allegations against UN peacekeepers in the Central African Republic. Oh, that's keeping the peace. Hey, they're They're they watch a lot of porn and they're having sex. It doesn't affect anybody. It's cool. What else? French soldiers questioned over Central Africa rape allegations. But now they're also finding out that not only they raped children, but they also made some children have sex with dogs. And this is the French military. First gay soldiers and trans soldiers, now pedo and zoophile soldiers. The Western world is clearly sending his best people overseas to help the poor uncivilized blackies, right? That is beyond words. And I wonder how many people are out there like, they deserve it because they're black. We need to harm black. They're children, you fucking psychopath. You know, some of the things that people say to me, I can't say how it makes me feel. And Trist, who wrote this up, I'm not referring to him, but that's what a lot of people think. I don't think there's anything on this planet that upsets me more than child abuse. I've said this before and I still believe this. Those who possess good character do not mistreat those at their mercy. A child is the most vulnerable creature. And it is my belief that those who abuse children should be given no mercy. So with that being said, we are to the question and comment thread, and we'll get to emails in a little bit. First, thank you, CF. I've been in despair for months from looking at the awful state of Western civilization. I can't believe how much more evil we've become in the past year alone. We're going to see more mob violence, more disease, more slavery, more propaganda from the Ministry of Truth, more promotion of sex worship, more oppression of dissenters. Satan has an incredible hold over us. I do worry that my family and I could get killed either by random rioters or by government fiat. But you said something in episode 82 that gave me hope. I've been depressed because I made the mistake of putting my faith in man. Trump isn't going to save us. Memes aren't going to save us. Even killing commies isn't going to save us. Only the sacrifice of Christ can save us. It's not a ceding to despair to admit that we are lost without God's help. So thank you, CF. I needed the reminder that even if I'm horribly killed by a gang of sodomites who want to rape my house guest, I know I'll be alright because death is not the end. This world is cursed and only God can save it. So I need to put my trust in him, not infallible mortal men. Not infallible, not infallible mortal men. I know that might sound a little bit strange when I'm reading it, but reading it here, it says fallible on its own. You don't have to read this aloud on your show, but know that you are appreciated. I bought your Bandcamp stuff to say thanks. Well, thank you very much for your support, and I'm glad that somebody out there is listening. I am glad that somebody is you, amongst many others. All my gratitude. It's misery to place your faith in that which changes constantly. That which lets you down. And that's why I say it's a bad idea. It took me a while to figure it out. It took me a while to find the words. But I'm glad I did. And I'm glad that you're listening to them. Next. ACF, it seems that even karma has drunk the pause Kool-Aid and decided to punish me for writing about that military tranny last week. Today I went to buy some tobacco from a local convenience store. I haven't been to this one in a while as I generally frequent one attached to a petrol station so I can buy my smokes with my petrol. You know, pause 2 neg holes with 1 load. Nonetheless, I still recognized all the faces at the other one and was taken aback on my latest visit there today. It had been a month or so since I'd last been, and nothing much changes in this span of time. For most of us, anyway. However, one of the girls that works there certainly had undergone quite a profound change. When she greeted me, I may not have noticed that something was awry, and had not been for the mustache sitting just above her lip. Oh boy. I have long assumed that she had just gotten unlucky in the genetic lottery, what with the adult acne, and recently the Tumblr haircut. I had assumed that the haircut was just her accepting her fate as an ugly woman. Nope. She must have been on testosterone for a while, and suddenly stopped shaving because she's now sporting sideburns and a mo. I'm not sure how the merchant doctors have convinced people this is a safe process. To go from having the facial hair of a woman, little to none, to growing sideburns and a mustache in a month or so must require a lot of fucking testosterone. Yeah, well, I saw that video. I still have the tab up of this retard's shitty facial hair, and it never gets better. It never gets better. So, click back. She spoke to me a little differently this time, too. A lot of emphasis on mate when we spoke. I was rather shocked and appalled at this point and struggled to remember which brand of rolling papers I like. This was all a bit much for me. I wonder if now that she assumedly is living life as a man, she will realize that there's a little more to it than wearing wife beaters, getting tats, and calling men mate. Once all this had sunk in, I felt genuine pity for this woman. Mentally ill bloggers and modern doctors have convinced this woman to go down a path that she can never return from. Back in my day, we let off our angst by listening to edgelord music loud as fuck, drinking and taking drugs. We didn't read blogs and take hormones. Well, the reason why there are so many people out there like, oh, blog this, I'm a doctor that, and I pander to the sexually psychotic. There's a lot of money in doing so. There are a lot of lonely, depressed people out there who get crazy ideas about themselves, like what you have here. I encounter this sometimes too, like these people who work as cashiers at the grocery store. They have like a name that's, maybe like their name is Anita or something, and then they change their name tag to Anthony, and they're like this 5'2" girl with like a short haircut. She's like, ooh, hey man. It's like, oh, hi. Yeah, great. I know what you're all about. I read your Tumblr. I read your blog. And this is the inevitability of late-stage consumerism. Sell people a never-ending identity crisis. Tell people something that they can be what they can never be, and you will have a lifetime customer. Because they will keep consuming. They think that consumption, they have this false belief that consumption will take them to this ideal. Buy some hair gel, spike up your hair. That's what dudes do. Buy lots of man clothes. That's what we do. Yeah, men go clothes shopping all the time. Yeah, that's what true, solid, genuine, worthy men do. They constantly blow their paychecks on fucking Jordans or whatever. It's pathetic. And you have the pharmaceutical industry propping this shit up too. But as I say, I felt true and genuine pity for this maligned soul who has undoubtedly ruined her life forever. Yes, there is no turning back from this for her. Being dosed this high on testosterone will not facilitate an easy move back. Well, there are a lot of health effects that go along with it. They have bodies that are not prepared to carry this hormone, like that one Vine marathon clip. That one Vine I included in, I think it was 9, where that one girl's all like, my doctor is going to take me off testosterone because I had a mini stroke. Holy shit. Like, stop right there. Stop right there. It's over. Done. Suicidal. Self-destructive. If the, if it wasn't self-destructive morally, it's now self-destructive physically. There's just no reason to do this. This fleeting shit that you make permanent. This feeling of pity dispersed fairly quickly, though, once the penny dropped, and I realized that despite me having a better mustache than the tranny, she had stronger sideburns. I think this means I have lower testosterone than a tranny. Cucked by the merchant again. I picked up some fortified wine on the way home, and I'll be drinking that now while I contemplate the fact that there is a slight ginger woman in my hometown with higher testosterone than me. See you in hell, dude. Oh, wait. We're already there. Yeah, people think like this is just like some internet thing. They all say it's like you go outside. It's everywhere. Even I see it at the grocery store, because that's where they work, and at gas stations too. So yeah, it's open your eyes. Your experiences will tell you that this is a real trend, and it should worry us. It should concern us deeply. Next. ACF saw a friend of mine share this on Facebook. Friend. Quote unquote friend. Just in case any of you were still under the impression that the youth of today would turn out any better than the millennials. Sorry if the video is too long or anything. I'll pause it and I will...
Why more of today's teens identify as gender fluid than ever before.
Done. No, I'm not. I didn't. I said I would pause, as in like pause, play pause, not pause, negapause. Our present culture views sex as the ultimate form of expression. You are the freest person. You're the best person if you are sexually liberated. And who is the most sexually liberated? Homosexuals. These kids hear it all throughout middle school, all throughout high school. And they say, oh, well, we have to pay tribute to that. They aren't stupid. They realize who dominates the social hierarchy, who is beyond reproach. They know who that is. They see that people get suspended for bullying the gay kid, and that bullying consists of calling him a faggot and little else. So they're like, well, I have to be gay if I want to be protected. So I'm like kind of this, but not kind of that. I'm a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They pay tribute to it, in other words. And then one thing leads to another, and they're regular at the glory hole. But hey, you know better than God, right? God said, no, this is wrong, don't do it. Look at these people, look at how they behave, observe. It's wrong, don't do it. Don't do it, or I will turn you into a pillar of salt. The warning signs are there, but nobody listens because, everybody thinks they're smarter than God. Next. I've listened to your podcasts for quite a long time, and they basically have been my only contact with extreme degeneracy. I thought it would stay that way, but unfortunately, the pause has now reached my family. A few months back, we found out that my oldest brother is cheating on his wife. He's been married for almost 10 years, and he and his wife have 2 daughters, of which the older one is supposed to have her first communion this year. We're all Roman Catholic. We finally found out who the other woman is, and it turns out she's a young single mother. My sister-in-law called that woman's mother, and apparently she's fine with her daughter being a vapid home-wrecking whore because they're in love. And she needs a man to help her raise her kid. What, men who... Once a cheater, always a cheater, you fucking retard. I need me a real man. I need me a real man. A real man would have married you before he came inside of you. Fucking retard. The worst part is that my brother lives literally half the world away and we can't talk to him face to face. He doesn't get on Skype anymore, and the only means of contacting him I have are text messages. From what his wife lets us know via Skype, he hasn't been to church in over a year, says he doesn't believe in God. I can clearly see it's for the fuck you mom reasons. He texts this slut so much that he even got into trouble at work. About a month ago, he seemed to be very torn about whether to stay with his family or go with the honey trap. I admit she's very pretty, although he was well aware that his wife is a few years older when he was marrying her, and she always seemed to be a good supportive wife. He never complained about anything. Beauty is vain. Beauty is temporary. It is a lie. Physical beauty. Spiritual beauty, that's eternal. This guy, your brother, he's reprobate. He cannot fathom that. He cannot experience that. His heart is dead. He's spiritually dead. He betrayed the mother of his children. I'm going to get into this a little bit later. How that makes children feel. Because I have an email. It's a little bit of a different subject, but a lot bit different subject, but I'm gonna get into that later. How the parents' betrayal of one another really takes a toll on children. The worst part is that on the worst days, he's an outright dick to his wife and kids. Ever since it started, every time we talk to his oldest daughter, she sounds horribly depressed. It's a shock. Yeah, why wouldn't she be? Her father is a treacherous scum. A scumfuck. It's a shocking contrast compared to the high-energy ray of sunshine she used to be. Yeah, that would cast a dark cloud over anybody's day. The younger daughter gets that something is wrong, but she still loves her daddy. The wife dropped from wearing L clothing to large clothing to small clothing within the few months. It's been happening, and she doesn't really have anyone to turn to either. Her brother is estranged. Her sister lives in another country, and both of her parents passed away before she got married. Oh man. So, look, your brother probably showed some warning signs before this. And this girl he married, she was in some trouble, and she's looking for something to anchor her. Because yeah, if both of her parents were gone, that's tough. That might lead you to make some mistakes. I tried to talk to him via text and told him he should rethink his actions because they don't happen in a vacuum. From his replies, it seems to me he's rapidly being converted to a complete postmodern degenerate, mud-dick asshole, but can still hear that little voice of conscience somewhere inside. I have no idea what to do. None of us do. I love him. He's always been my big brother, and I still hope that the situation can be fixed. But on the other hand, I'm extremely disappointed and angry at him for what he's doing. I understand a lot of his resentment towards our mother for some of her parenting techniques, but he's still a grown man. No, he's not. If he's still holding on to this, whatever thing that made him mad, that his mom did to him, however his mother made him mad, he's still holding on to it. That's not a grown man. But you are right. You follow that up with he should know better. He should know better. If he were a grown man, he would, but he doesn't. Our dad, too, reduced his role only to bringing money home and wasn't very involved in building a relationship with his kids. This especially should make him aware of how his actions can mess up his daughters in the future. And again, this is an example of how dysfunction leads to more dysfunction. Those are the actions of somebody that never wanted kids. If you don't want kids, don't have them. If you're just going to treat them like a fucking fashion accessory, don't have them. Where did I leave off? This especially should make him aware how his actions can mess up his daughters in the future. This whole situation was such a shock because he's always been great with kids. He's been the best older brother I could have hoped for when I was little. Even though he would always say that he'll never have kids in his late teens, early 20s, once his daughters were born, he was ecstatic. He used to dedicate most of his time to them playing and teaching. He was the type of father I wish I had. So even though I could get how a guy his age, 38, can have a desire to chase younger women, I can't comprehend how he can be so cold to his own children and run off to take care of some other man's kid. Yeah, I don't know how that works. I don't know how you can, for one day you can seem like you have your stuff together, you do the right things, you take care of your kids, you're a loyal husband, and then what? What happens? Sorry for the lengthy posts. I don't want to treat you as some advice columnist, but I really have no one else to turn to. My immediate family is not very good at facing our problems. We tend to want to ignore them and hope they go away. My best friend also comes from a non-traditional family, and I see that the more conservative I get, the more she's becoming a liberal feminist. The other good relationship I had broke off because she was trying to make me retard my moral compass and get me into race mixing, the "you're too white" type of comments popping up very often. That's something everybody says, just where the zeitgeist is located at this point. I don't think she really means anything by that, to be honest with you. Anyways, I won't bore you with my whole life story. Thanks for all you do and keep up the good work. Look, there's nothing I can say other than your brother's a piece of shit. You need to stop placing any sort of goodwill. Stop tying your spirit up with his. Stop filtering your outlook on life through him. And that's really the best you can do, and do your best to maintain a relationship with those kids and his wife. You know, there's some good that can come from this, and that good is you, if you let it. Next. Regarding your interest in the camera and the act and or addiction of looking related to sexual, have you heard of the term Scoptophilia? Scoptophilia is deriving pleasure from looking. As an expression of sexuality, it refers to sexual pleasure derived from looking at erotic objects, erotic photographs, pornography, naked bodies, etc. The term was introduced to translate Freud's Schaulust, or pleasure in looking. Freud considered pleasure in looking to be a regular partial instinct in childhood, which might be sublimated into interest in art, or alternatively become fixated into what the Rat Man called a burning and tormenting curiosity to see the female body. Freud thought that inhibition of scopophilia might lead to actual disturbances of vision. Other analysts have suggested that it might lead to a retreat from concrete objects into a world of abstractions. Certainly this drive is enhanced and encouraged these days via video/photography on phones et al. Yeah, I saw this video. It was a baseball broadcast on television, and they're showing a group of young ladies in the bleachers, in the stands, whatever you want to call them. And there's like a group of about a dozen, I want to say, maybe more, maybe less, of these blonde girls, young blonde girls. They're all looking at their phones, holding it above their head, like tapping away at it in their palms. They're all looking at it, and they're all taking pictures of themselves. And this was in a Nobody TM video. And I don't know how to interpret that. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I get it. That's what just people do nowadays. People want to be normal, do what the next guy's doing. And that's where people get their ideas of culture, just looking over their shoulder. Oh, what are they doing? What are people I consider cool and worthy? What are they doing? Oh, they're taking pictures of themselves. Your lives are dearly beloved. They had 700 photos of themselves on Facebook in a year. And that's a group of normal girls in that clip, all taking pictures of themselves while they're at a baseball game. A baseball game's not cheap to go to. It's not like a movie. It's not like just pay your $10 and there you go. Baseball games, it's a little more expensive. So I don't know about this Freudian stuff, but it is interesting to look into. I mean, Freud was a massive weirdo. If you want to get some insight into the mind of a weirdo, read Freud. Read about Freud. Read his work, because he was probably describing himself more than he was describing other people. But this fixation we have with ourselves, we all want to be the star of our own show. Why? Why do we think ourselves to be so great? Well, because we get attention. Like these young blonde girls, they get attention from the opposite sex, no doubt. But if that's all you got, that's how you end up writing for the Daily Dot about how society has ruined you because you sucked and fucked on camera too much. Next, Common Filth. When someone asked how you started to believe, you basically describe what we Catholics call the supernatural faith, which is a great gift from God, which is not necessarily arrived at with great reasoning. You asked Roman Catholics to explain why the Roman Catholic Church is the way it is today. The short answer is sin and betrayal. To elaborate a bit, the Catholic Church believes and teaches that Jesus Christ is the head of the Church, and the rest of the Catholic Church is the rest of his body. But since the 60s, the bishops now teach that all baptized Christians are connected to Jesus Christ, not in a formal organizational structure, but as a part of an actual living spiritual organism. Therefore, whatsoever Jesus Christ went through in his earthly life, namely living in the world, being betrayed, suffering, dying, and attaining eternal life, the rest of his body, the church, will have to go through. In this context, it wouldn't be a great surprise to see Judases even in the church, would it? If you want a comprehensive answer, listen to The Passion of the Church, a sermon given by an anonymous priest to a traditionalist congregation. I know you hate Pope Francis. Many of us traditionalist Catholics don't like him either, especially with the recent changes he made for Holy Thursday. Hint, what he did isn't what the church had taught and practiced. But the situation is like this. Imagine the American president, someone you don't necessarily choose, but whose authority you must recognize, starts saying stupid things, habitually mocks you for your God-fearing way of life, etc. What do? Do you leave the country like the "I'm going to Canada if he gets elected" retards? Leaving means abandoning the decent people and other good things worth fighting for. Why not stay and fight for the sake of the good? That's the same for the Catholic Church. Someone has to expel the homosexuals out and implement what Friar Z called the biological solution, which is basically having kids and raising them right. What is your opinion on the previous Pope, Benedict? Do you know the media was merciless towards him? Yeah, I do. I remember pretty clearly. I remember listening on the radio when the day he was elected as new Pope, and a lot of people were like, he was a Nazi. He grew up in Germany. He was a Nazi. He was in the Hitler Youth. He's a Nazi. And that's all you heard. He's Nazi Pope, Nazi Pope, Nazi Pope. And even back then I knew it was complete bullshit. The circumstances of his resignation was odd, and the events which preceded, I don't think, were coincidental. Namely, 1. The publishing of a paper by Polish priests that exposed the extent of a gay mafia in the Vatican, comprised of named and known high-ranking clergy who lead double lives. Yeah, I've talked about that before, how all of the American seminaries are loaded with freaks. And it's not just in America, clearly. 2. The incident involving the theft of documents by Pope Benedict's butler, showing that Pope Benedict could not trust anyone in the Vatican. Yeah, I mean, it seems that decent men are the most hated. And maybe that's how it always will be. Pope Francis is likely a smokescreen, the media-friendly face of a group of godless clerics who had been consolidating their influence since the 1960s. One of them is a Belgian cardinal, Cardinal Godfrey Daniels, who openly admitted to having orchestrated Pope Benedict's resignation and Pope Francis's election with the St. Galen group. Cardinals don't just wake up one day and think they'll vote a terrible pope into office. Now that they have their man as pope, they're emboldened and made obvious by their resistance to anything traditional. Their fostering of a homosexual culture in seminaries. You featured an expose on the Jesuits before, I think. I don't recall if they were the Jesuits specifically, but it was about American seminaries. One of them was Notre Dame, the other, I forget the names of them, but it was on killingthebuddha.com, if I'm not mistaken, or some website called Killing the Buddha. Just give it a Google, or your search engine of choice. For their support of liberal politics, for empty drivel from the pulpit, and for having destroyed the faith of many people who no longer go to church and have instead spoken against Jesus Christ and his followers with great demonic hate. Now, you may think the current pope is bad, but he's only as bad as the rest of us. The first pope, St. Peter, boldly declared, "I will die for you, Lord," and then immediately denied knowing Jesus for fear of his life. But in the end, he did give his life for Jesus. There have been worse popes too. In 1032, Benedict IX was elected pope, and he was a homosexual teenager who raped and murdered people. But as corrupt as popes can be, the pope is not the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church does not belong to the pope, because it belongs to Jesus Christ, who established it and is present in it, even if it is reduced to 2 people who gather in his name. Well, there needs to be a revolt within the Catholic Church saying just this: the Pope, you are subordinate. What you say contradicts Christ's message. And any Pope that is you or isn't you will be removed with great prejudice. But it just seems to me that the Catholic Church has grown to a point where it's difficult to see around it. You get inundated with Catholic culture and all of this, and you lose sight of what's important. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't affiliate myself with any group because I can't control that collective. I can't control how that reflects on me, so... But I recognize that the Catholic Church is an institution that's not going to go away due to its massive size, so... It's a concern of mine, and that is why I ask those who are Catholic in my audience. Next. What do you think about outsourcing work to other countries where there's cheaper labor and less restrictions? I guess this falls in line with globalism in a way, but at the same time, they can be seen as a form of servants from another country, which has always been a common practice, and as I recall, never denounced by the Bible. Are those people your neighbors? No, they aren't your neighbors. People halfway around the world, they're not your neighbors. Which I am not wholly against if the masters are not completely abusive. If my future enterprises ever get big, I want to give the jobs to Americans, my own countrymen, but I don't even know if there's enough Americans to fill the roles. There are 300 plus million Americans. I think there are 316 if I'm not mistaken. 316 million Americans. That's a lot of Americans. Now, I get it that some people aren't up to speed with how they should be skilled in certain, certain areas are underdeveloped. Certain developed areas of their skill set are underdeveloped, so I think it should be up to you to develop those. Not everybody can come ready-made. Not everybody can be a perfectly processed piece of product. And I think we should let go of that notion that people need to be that. And if we should for some reason have to outsource work because there's not enough people to do it, imagine if every major business brought all of their cheap labor to the States. There's not enough room for it. Correct, but they're trying anyway. Should we pay them roughly the same, what we would to our own countrymen, or would it be okay to pay them as little as they are generally willing to work for? Oh, well, if you're not going to foster much loyalty doing that, but the point is stupid because I am against this. There are 316 million people in this country and growing. You can find people to do jobs. It's ridiculous. They're people. I assure you I'm not a sociopath. I don't want people to starve or be abused in their labor. But businesses get sued all the time, and when they're not being sued, they will lose money in other ways all the time if they try to branch out into more than one enterprise, or if they're super good at what they do. So do you have to cut corners when possible to ensure that when the scavengers come, you'll still be standing when they're done? Look, you should be making sure that you're profitable. You should ensure that, but at what point does profit become greed? And that's the wisdom that you have to exercise. That's what you have to exercise discretion over. In a country like America, I don't think there's any real need to outsource, especially when you can get people up to speed pretty quickly if they're not as skilled as you like them to be. It's not that difficult to train people. People are generally obedient for all the wrong reasons. So yeah, I'm against globalized labor, globalism. It's ridiculous. Help out your neighbor, your literal neighbor. People you actually live among. That's okay. Next, hey CF, where are all the white women at? I don't know. Fucking dogs. Let's go with that. Okay, never mind. Hey CF, how's Tumblristas Raw Volume 4 coming along? Slow, and I'll tell you this: it is more difficult to do a series of Tumblristas Raw because the content is so much more unfiltered. When I'm making a free episode of Tumblristas, one I release to YouTube, it's difficult because it's not as difficult because I have a set of limitations, and I'm more comfortable working within limitations. So that's just how I work. So it is coming along. I can assure you that I have all the content I need virtually. It's just a matter of putting it together, recording it in a way that satisfies me, in a way that I would be comfortable putting it out there. Something that I can be proud of putting my name on. And next. Hey CF, you may have seen this already, but there's a YouTube channel called Gay Porn Videos Vivo, which shows censored parts, I think, since I only watched a few seconds of gay porn. Censored parts of gay porn, okay? There are actually people in the comments asking for pause loads, even if the pause comments aren't 100% serious, hopefully. The rest of them are just as disgusting, just something that really rustled my jimmies. Yeah, when I found that Diaper Boy channel, I came across this, and I'll try to find it. It was really disturbing. They're like, ooh, I wish I had a guy to... Okay, maybe... I'm just gonna leave it recording until I find it. Okay, I know I've gone too far now. Here we go. And these are some YouTube comments I found. Great video, I like it because I am gay and I wear a diaper at night. Not being ironic, this is sincere. I want to change his diaper. And I need a boyfriend in diapers to love me in diapers too. I'm horny. And he posts his phone number, which I scratched out in paint to preserve the what dignity might remain of this poor fellow. Call me or text me sometimes, okay? These are people who are into diapers, and they're also, they're at the top of our social hierarchy, beyond reproach. And what's this one? Imgerlink. Red pill on trannies. Being trans is not. This is not the person that sent me this. This is thank God. This is a screenshot. Red pill on trannies. Being trans is not a new concept. It is not a liberal conspiracy. It is not a fad. It is not caused by estrogen in the water or any of that shit. Well, I'm sure that it's not that just one thing. It's a combination of things. Apathy, decadence, estrogen in the water, I'm sure has something to do with it. Soy in the diet. It wasn't well known in the past because it only happens to 1 in 30,000 people. Whenever it happened in the past, the people affected by it were completely isolated and had no one to tell and no one to back up their feelings, which is where they should stay. And now they spread their propaganda, and now kids are like, more kids are identifying as gender fluid. And all the sorority girls share it on their Facebook page. Wonderful. They're really spreading the message out there because, wow, so much this. It seems like it's booming now because the internet makes information globally accessible. Anyone who has trans feelings as a kid will Google it and suddenly find out there's thousands of people like them. You know, as stupid as I was at certain points in my life, I never thought I was a girl. I never thought my depression was the result of me feeling like a girl, like I should have a pussy. Never happened. Never. Yes, that means there are some people who are faking it, but it's not widespread and it's not an epidemic. No, they hear it in school like, I have proof of this. I have a video of this genderqueer person talking in front of a classroom of 9th or 10th graders or something. It's like, oh, when you think of gender, do you think boy or girl? And they're like, yeah, boy and girl. Well, it's like, you're kind of right, but it's more of a spectrum. So once they hear that, they think it's sophisticated because a quote unquote educated person is telling them this. That's what educated people do. They lie. No, I'm telling you the truth. That is what educated people do now. They learn to lie. That is what they learn how to do in college, grad school. When they're a professor, all they do is lie. Yes, that means there are some people who are faking it, but it's not widespread and it's not an epidemic. The vast majority of Americans have never seen a transgender person in their life. At least those who have seen one have probably only seen one outside of a gathering or parade or whatever. It's also far less common in the West than it is in South America, the Middle East, and Asia. The difference is anything related to tranny shit is made a front page headline here because of liberal agenda. Wait, I thought you were talking about it's not a liberal conspiracy. Make up your mind. Pro tip, trannies are completely harmless. They can't breed, yet there are more of them. More of them than ever. More kids than ever pay tribute to it. Start identifying it, even temporarily. But you can't put that genie back into the bottle. Are you stupid? Yeah, you are. They'll kill themselves or get murdered they kill themselves or get murdered at a far higher rate than normal. They're passive and weak. They are a distraction from the real problems and threats to America. Everything's a real problem. It's like, okay, hierarchy of problems. But, Theodore Adorno, one of the members of the Frankfurt School, what many people blame Western civilization's decline on, he said poetry after Auschwitz is barbaric. Now, how many people do you hear, you can't say something about something because something worse happened? It's the same reasoning. Used by a proud Aryan Ubermensch, mind you. You can't say anything because this happened. You can't say anything because Paris got blown up. Because the French are a bunch of apathetic retards. You can't say anything. You can't say anything about anything. Fuck that. I'll say whatever I want. You can't draw the line between 2 points. The French Revolution and now their fixation upon carnal pleasures and their complete fucking apathy when it comes to preserving culture. No, that's in bad taste, right? Get fucked. I recently had a conversation with my father that really reminded me of the times you talked about calling a demon a demon. My father mentioned an occasion when he was 13 years old, eating breakfast at a diner with his mother. He said that she would occasionally point out various people who otherwise looked normal to my father, and that they looked devilish or demonic, or described their facial features as if they resembled some sort of hellspawn. On this particular occasion, my father was fed up with hearing her speak about this, so he got out of his seat, approached the normal-looking man she had pointed out this time, and told him the things that his mother was saying, hoping to put her rambling to rest. The man's reaction was very strange. He didn't say a word, stopped eating his meal, stood up, and left the diner in a rush. My father told me about another time when he approached someone else on a street corner after his mother had pointed out the same sort of thing. This time, the man quickly jumped into traffic and ran across the street again without any sort of response. These odd reactions always horrified my father. He described it as something that raised the hair on the back of his neck like something was very wrong. I didn't inquire further if my father had any other instances of this stuff happening. For what it's worth, his mother is mentally ill, or at least on the borderline of it, and spent most of her time out drinking when he was growing up, and continues to do so to this day, now in her 80s. How is she still alive? Good Lord. And his father had walked out early on in my father's life. I don't really know what to make of this. I'm a bit skeptical of such things, but I can't really rationalize the reactions my father observed when he called these men demons. That's interesting. I don't want to make it out to be anything more than it is, but it's a good story. Man, I wish I had more comment on that, but thank you for sharing it. We've made it a part of the record. Hi, CF. I've lately taken an interest in anthropology. I was wondering if you could recommend any good literature to help me get started on the subject, as most of what I found online is too thoroughly cucked to even trust. Thanks, take it easy. The whole field is retarded. Franz Boas was a liar. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I hate anthropology. I hate anthropology because it's a field with so much potential. Yet, in the same semester, they'll tell you about, okay, here's Negroid, Caucasoid, and Mongoloid skull types. And by the way, race is a social construct, so just stay away from it. Stay away from it. ACF, I've seen you post on your Twitter about wrestling a few times now. Is it some joke I'm missing, or do you genuinely enjoy it? If so, why? To me, it just looks like two half-naked, oiled-up dudes fighting each other over some degenerate shit while 50,000 people are having the time of their lives waving homemade signs. Why is it such a big thing in the US? Well, as I found out, it's a big thing in Japan as well. I believe New Japan Pro Wrestling has a big event every year where at least one of them is in the Tokyo Dome, which is a very major stadium. So it's not a specifically American thing, as I've learned. But my interest in it started last year when I considered going to WrestleMania because it was within striking distance for me to attend, but I thought it would be too expensive, so I watched it online instead, and I ended up enjoying it. So I've been following it ever since, and like a lot of things, what I enjoy about that thing, it's not just one aspect of it. And throughout human history, we've always been fascinated by shows of mock warfare. It's a neat thing to see. And sports like basketball, hockey, baseball, football, soccer, whatever sport you want to watch, that is mock warfare. Which is why I don't really like women doing it. Because what are they doing? You have one side against another. Those women aren't going to be fighting out there when it matters. And that's for sports that aren't apparently rigged, even though we found out last week that professional sports that have the pretense of anything can happen, they're becoming rigged. So pro wrestling, I think, cuts away at that pretense. They don't care to hide the fact that it's fake nowadays. So it's more art than sport, and I enjoy watching people do these impressive athletic things within this context. And this is what I don't understand when people talk about fragile masculinity. If masculinity was so fragile, pro sports would not rake in billions and billions of dollars per year. Most people watching, most of the spectators, are nowhere near the athletic caliber of those putting on the show for them. So if we were so intimidated by those who do something better than us, we wouldn't pay money to see it. It's just that simple. But as I am recording this now, this segment, it's been a few hours since WrestleMania ended, this year's one, and that was a bizarre show. I don't know, should I talk about it? No. So I feel uncomfortable talking about the shit I consume and entertain myself with. It's just, again, I feel it's decadent, and more power to you if you do like talking about this stuff. More power to you if you make some sort of living at talking about this stuff, but I just can't do it. So I enjoy it. I enjoy the spectacle, and it's fun. It's fun. My friends are into it, and yeah. Next, trans Nazi to a pink brony unicorn. Just a bit of new. Okay, good guy. I don't know what you're talking about. Once the far right sites transitions to full blown alt right pink brony. Well, yeah, I guess that's happening. Sure. So let's do emails. As much as I can. I'm running pretty close to the deadline here, but that's my fault. Don't worry about me. It's all my fault. Let's do this one. Hey CF, I'm a half white and half Japanese guy living in America, and I was wondering what your views on interracial marriage and mixed race people are, as well as who I should marry / have kids with. My girlfriend right now is of Chinese descent, but I've dated white women in the past, and I feel like I'm supposed to marry an Asian, but I also somewhat identify as white. Keep up the good work and God bless. Well, I've talked about this before on multiple occasions, and in America, when you're like some sort of mix of Asians, mix of Europeans, you're just white, you're Asian. And in your current arrangement, if this woman is good, if she's a good woman, then yeah, fine. That's all good. If she's worthy of being the mother of your children, that's fine. Your children will see themselves as Asian, despite the fact that they'll be 25% white. And that's what happens. I haven't met anybody who's 25% white, 75% Asian, but I have met the inverse, and they seemed pretty comfortable being white. No identity problems on their behalf, but a lot of the a lot of times with mixed kids, you have severe identity problems. And I'm not saying that this happens in everyone. Obviously, you have a girlfriend, you're well adjusted. So I congratulate you on not being an Elliot Rodger kind of guy. I also read a blog a long time ago from this Eurasian who has some severe problems with being European and Asian. So it goes both ways, like I said. But a lot of people say, oh, miscegenation it has no cure, blah, blah, blah. It does, but often in a way that they don't like, because it's usually white people talking about racial purity. Most American blacks are between, I think, like 15% and 25% white. And if you see a black guy, just a random, regular, probably representative of a lot of black people genetically, if you see one of them, you're not going to think that guy's quarter white. No, you're just going to see a black guy. So with your kids, if you want them to be Asian, that's fine. But I feel that if you were to marry a white woman and have children with her, you'd start feeling more Asian than you would white. And maybe that hasn't been the case for you since you've said that you've dated white women, but, it's a possibility. But you have to look at it from your offspring, what they're going to have an easier time being. And, I think they'll have a pretty easy time either way, but my gut feeling is that they'll have an easier time being more Asian than white. So, I mean, it's your cross to bear if it is some sort of burden of you being mixed, but with them it'll be even less so, and with their kids, if everything goes to plan, it won't even be a concern like, oh, I'm kind of white. It'll be simply a number on a genetics test at that point, once it gets to your grandkids. So you have to look out for the kids and how they'll feel, how easily they'll navigate through life. And identity issues happen even with those who aren't mixed. Like I talked about divorce earlier. Think about what that does to a kid. Upon divorce, the kids become an emblem of a fleeting emotion. This is not something that lasts for a lifetime. Upon marriage, not something that lasts for a lifetime. Something that, oh, we felt like this then, but now we don't feel like it. Essentially rendering that child's existence pointless and temporary and frivolous. I think that's the worst thing you can do to a kid, is to make them a product of divorced parents. So then they'll choose sides, and And then if they're spending time with one, they'll feel guilt about not spending time with the other. It's a mess. A mess. I haven't experienced this personally myself, but I've seen other people go through it. Family members, friends, whatever. It is sickening. Anybody who marries and does not intend it to be till death do us part, fuck off. The spiritual livelihood of your children depend on you keeping your shit together. Next, I was raised Roman Catholic, but I rejected Christianity as I grew up. By the time I was attending college, I was a full-on fedora tipper, because I thought I was so much smarter than my parents and relatives. Well, it seems to be a part of growing up for a lot of people. Your radio show and videos have brought me back to the faith. I've been listening to the King James audiobook on YouTube rather than attending a church, and it feels like taking a mental shower. That's how it should feel. Sorry if this question is redundant, but what should I be doing on a practical level? For example, how much should I be praying? Since I don't attend a church or have any Christian friends, I really don't know what to do. I hate living in San Francisco. As you should. On a practical level, see, that's an interesting question. You adopt the Christian ethic and start living life like Christ said to. You see somebody in need, you help them. You see somebody engaging in wrongdoing, you say that's wrong. Or you have an idea of what wrongdoing is, and you just have a conversation with somebody about that. You say a sin is a sin is a sin. You don't need to say it's a sin, because once people hear those words, they freak the fuck out. Everyone wants to live in isolation of their bad decisions. They don't want to fathom the possibility that what they're doing is wrong. So yeah, talking to people, just in a very plain English kind of way. A culturally, compatible kind of way. It can be a gateway drug into a greater, broader morality. I have a girlfriend and marriage looks like the next step. Here's where things get complicated. I'm also attracted to the muscular physiques of men. While I have never engaged in sodomy, what should I do about my gay thoughts? How do I extinguish them? No one around me can help. Well, moving out of San Francisco, that would be a good idea. What should I do about my gay thoughts? How do I extinguish them? No one around me can help. When talking it over with my girlfriend, because it's the current year, she embraces it, saying it's, quote, totally normal. This girl is not marriage material, I'm sorry to say. You need to get out of that relationship immediately, because she's releasing the homo demons on you. That's what she's doing. Find a woman who will not put up with that shit. Or better yet, go celibate. There are people that think that homosexuality is genetic. Well, you know what? If you have those thoughts, maybe, I know this is harsh, but end your bloodline. Don't kill yourself. Warn other peoples of fixating upon the male aesthetic. There's your contribution to the world. Quit fucking looking at pictures of Aryan bodybuilders. Delete your folder. I know you have one. And so many people do. So many people do. I've seen enough shit on Twitter. This is why I don't follow back anymore. You get some real freaks out there popping up in your timeline. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I do some careful vetting before I follow people that follow me. God bless, and I'm trying to come back to Christianity. Yeah, read the Bible. Read the Bible. Live it. Live its spirit. Live its words. Express those sentiments and words. Quit fagging off. Delete your bodybuilder folder. Get rid of your retard girlfriend. She is a fucking idiot who will lead you down a path of ruin. And that's it. Just as I've mentioned, from the perspective of a wife, like, what if your husband hangs out with gay dudes? Isn't that a bit strange to you? I think it's a bit strange that wives or girlfriends or whatever, their women want their men to explore their sexuality. That is sick, depraved shit. sick, depraved shit that dog fucking women would engage in. I'm sure they're fine with their men being open with their sexuality. It's like that's all people care about is cum. Women have to hold their men accountable just as men have to hold women accountable. It's a marriage, it's a partnership. No, it's not a 50-50 partnership, but there must be some standards met. That's what it has to be, or else you just have chaos, and then what's the point of having these institutions? And for women, I think an automatic disqualifier, and I know I'm old fashioned, but a woman's automatic disqualifier for a man being her, her lawfully wedded. If that man has the yearning to suck dick, done. Bye. See you later. Fuck off. But for so many women now, so many, seems like every one of them wanting to suck dick is like a prerequisite for a loving, lasting relationship. And by the way, you want to try polyamory? Let's do it with another dude. Let's have a foursome. By the way, I'm gonna tell you another story here. I used to know this guy. Used to talk to him online, whatnot. Yeah, he got this girl pregnant. He's some loser, couldn't pull out. White kid too, white girl. And before he got her pregnant, he bragged about having a threesome with her. The man who made this woman a mother, this girl a mother, had a threesome where she lesed off with some other girl in his presence. And they had children. And this guy, he used to tell me, like, he's like one of the first people to tell me, like, that gender is how you feel. And I was even dumb enough to believe that. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, okay, fine. Yeah, okay. Good luck with that. And little did I know there were millions of people backing him with the exact same sentiment. The sickness has been coming for some time. There were warning signs. God was trying to warn me, hey, this is what's coming. And here's how you're going to feel about it. Like, just off the cuff, visceral, you don't think much about it. You're like, that's fucking dumb. What, gender changes? Or even knowing nothing about it. Knowing nothing of the personality types that believe this kind of stuff or engage in it. Even knowing nothing about it, I knew off the cuff it was fucking dumb. And, see that visceral reaction. If you're of a good soul, it takes you a long way. So let's do some more. Been listening to your material since episode 69, and I've wanted to thank you for giving me some guidance into getting back with God, since he seems to be the only refuge for these times of filth, and I've felt heaps better, although it's been on and off. Yeah, that's to be expected. I really appreciate you leading people into the correct path by exposing harsh truth. Going into my question, I've had the opportunity to go to a couple of parties, something that I haven't really been exposed to for years, and that I've always felt some pretty hard conflict about, which I believe it's not my moral upbringing, but something or someone that speaks to me internally telling me the fact that people chain smoking 12 cancer sticks in a row and mixing every sort of liquor into a plastic container, something called jungle juice, until they black out and vomiting on the floor is not something that is right, and I still can't understand the reasons why people enjoy this. How can this be socially normal? I'm 20 and I've been in an existential crisis for about 4 years, reading pretentious French literature on existentialism and looking out for something that gives meaning to my life and inner peace when I live with people I'm just not compatible with. Well, that's going to be you for... Everybody has to deal with people they're not compatible with. You have to make sure that you are not molested spiritually by those people. I've been reading about Taoism, which is basically letting go of garbage that gives you mental turmoil and accept the fact that everything just is, promoting and cultivating peace of mind, being authentic to your inner humanity, non-degenerate and non-hedonistic, of course, and helping others to achieve the same. This is secular, but but it can as well be integrated with Christianity. Well, I'm not so sure about that. Things can't just be just is. There has to be a point. Negative things that happen in the world should serve as an example of why they are wrong. what we can learn from them. We can learn from a lot of things that happen. And this is why negative things happen. We need to learn from them and realize what they do to society and think about it. I get these people all the time like, I'm gender fluid, and why are you so obsessed with gender? Oh, you're losing your mind with this Tumblr stuff. And they don't listen to what I do on here. I explain why these things are wrong, independent of any sort of persona I have to adopt to do a 3-minute video. Here I can explain stuff, talk stuff through, really drive home the point of why certain things need to be a certain way. Why man and woman, the balance between those two things, men being men, women being women, how that has nurtured civilization since the beginning of time. That is an absolutely vital thing, and we are not independent from that. We are not removed from that tradition. We want to remove ourselves from that tradition, but we're not. We're on some, I don't know what we're putting in the water. It's like we're all on drugs, like nothing matters, everybody can be anything. It's insane. To be clear, I just wanted to know what your opinion on why and how can people behave like brain dead fucklords without feeling regret. Your opinion about this philosophy with working with Christianity, and how did you personally find meaning in a world full of garbage? I'm glad there's a lot of people out there that can thankfully change their ways. I'm back home now from a said party, smelling like cigarette smoke from human chimneys and being ashamed of a friend puking nonstop on a toilet, and I felt instantly better being here, just like I do in university when studying or reading. Thank you, CF, for being a voice of reason that can lead people into a straight path, and remember to take a break every now and then for your own health. Note, I also want to remember the audience in general that CF isn't a messiah, but someone that can point out what's bullshit and where you should go. Cult-like following isn't sane, and you won't get the right idea of his work if you engage in it. Correct, I agree. Best wishes, stay sane, and thanks for all the guidance you've given me in the last 3 months. Well, thank you very much for listening and supporting what I do. You listening is a form of support. But as for why people engage in this blackout drunk chain smoking behavior, a part of it is that's what they believe is expected of them. They see it in movies, TV. Oh, I go to college. I'm a young 19, 20-year-old. I gotta be crazy. And they mimic the behavior they see in movies and TV. They think that's what they're supposed to do, or else they're a loser. They're a loser. I don't know why. Yeah, so a lot of it is not necessarily peer pressure, but the peer pressure coming from inside their own head. Nobody's going to look at them weird if they don't do this kind of stuff, because really nobody's paying that close attention. Just say, nah, and, if they're confronted with this, or if they're offered this opportunity, they could say, no, I got some other stuff to do. I can't do that right now. And people will just be like, oh, okay, whatever, fine. They're not going to think too much about it. Again, the people that want to do this stuff, they aren't thinking too much about anything. So they aren't going to think too much about you, who abstains from the behavior. And another aspect of this behavior is a symptom of being completely socially retarded, for lack of a better word. They don't know how to talk to people, how to relate to people. And, they're like, oh, I'm so stressed. They convince themselves that they're so stressed out from XYZ. And how to relieve that stress is to put stress on your body by drinking yourself stupid. Because a lot of these 19, 20-year-olds, a lot of these college students, they don't fit the classic mold of what an alcoholic actually is. I don't think they've had that much trauma in their lives where they lean on this thing. They're compensating for how fucking boring they are. So they think to themselves, I gotta act like how they act on TV and commercials. Everyone in commercials having a good time except me. Here I am sitting in my crappy dorm room watching TV. Maybe there's like a moldy piece of pizza in the fridge. Maybe they have like a George Foreman grill with a burger that's like 2 days old that they forgot to take off of there. Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's getting pretty late. I do have a lot more emails to get to, so I think I'll start the questions and comments next week with. with emails. Should we do one more? Yeah, let's do one more. Why not? All right. Hey, CF, I'm a long-time listener. We've spoken on Twitter before, but this is my first real question. About the Best of Common Filth 2015, a while ago, and I've been starting to listen through it recently while I'm on my computer or drawing. I was just listening to Brain Problems, Dick Problems, and you mentioned that being a virgin today is a function of being a weirdo. My question is, what if I've always been disgusted by the slutty behavior of girls, and that's why I'm a virgin today? I'm a guy who just turned 19, and I'm aware I'm one of the few. Wait, 19 is still pretty young. You're still a worm. You're still a maggot of a male who has no worth to anybody, let alone to as a provider to a woman. So or just as like raw sexual energy, which is but don't engage in anything based purely on that, because it'll just end in heartbreak. Look, I mean, if you it's like if you haven't found like somebody you're gonna marry, or at least potentially gonna marry at, I don't know, after a certain point, everybody has a different development, right? But 19, still incredibly young. You still have time. Don't worry about it. One of the few virgin males here at my college, despite my by today's standards extreme views, I get along well enough socially and hang out with mostly non-degenerate. However, these days I simply steer clear of even approaching females at my dorm, since they all act like disgusting whores, have threesome with jolly African Americans and other shit I don't want to talk about. Well, yeah, because you're at college. They're mimicking behavior they saw on movies, TV, magazines, television, advertising, whatever. They're mimicking behavior. They're taking the suggestions, and that's what's becoming of those suggestions. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to be their own person, so they're like, I'll just be a slut, and there will be no consequences for this. So look, I get it. You're in an incredibly stupid environment with really stupid people, and yeah, I don't know how the fuck you find a wife at college. Go to like your local church's college youth group or whatever, and find a nice girl there. Try to find a nice girl, and try to figure out who the girls who actually feel bad about the sluttiness they've engaged in. Avoid those. At least they're trying, but just avoid those. I don't plan on staying a virgin forever, but I don't even know where to start looking for a decent woman. Well, I just told you. Another quick question: what is your view on people who agree with most of your views but fuck whores and basically use them as a cum dumpster to satisfy their sexual needs? I think it's degenerate myself. I agree. Anyway, thanks for reading this. Keep doing what you're doing. Look, if you're looking for it, you will find it, even if it is rare. And by how to find it is to become it yourself. Be somebody worthy of that good, decent woman. Be someone worthy of that good, decent woman who does the right things for the right reasons, who you would have no problem making the mother of your children. And when you're 19 years old, I don't think, regardless of how right of a path you're on, and you're on the right path, if what you're saying is true, I have no reason to doubt what you're saying. You're still 19, you're still incredibly young. And it's difficult to establish value as a man when you are a very, very early male, if you understand what I'm saying. I know I called a maggot of a male earlier or something like that, but you get what I mean. You have not yet developed into something greater. It's going to take some time for you to mold yourself into that man that will attract that good woman that you very clearly desire, and you should. But give yourself patience, because it's not going to happen all at once, and that's all I can really say about it. So please be patient. And with all that being said, you all take care of yourselves, be good to each other, and I will talk to you later.
Grown, ain't I? The skinny nigga with the fro to the slightly bigger nigga who's a killer with the flow. Went from YouTube beats and SoundCloud, nigga. The only difference now is that I found Twitter. Fuck it, it's struggle rap, man. They never see the trouble that I'm going through. The way I sing, they think I live in bubble wrap. Fuck all that, even though I'm on some poppin' shit. With my niggas as my witness, I'm a nigga who can spit. Don't believe me? overlooking my potential. I'm that poet to a phone, that poe was to a pencil. My mental is similar to that of a lion, and I'm the king of